Grumble, grumble. Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and in today's episode, we're going to be looking at a new Kickstarter dungeon crawl board game that has launched recently, and that is OrcQuest Warpath Resurrection. OrcQuest Warpath is a cooperative dungeon crawler for 1 to 6 players with fresh features of gameplay and orcs. Lots of them. I wanted to talk about this campaign because it's kind of an interesting one with a unique goal that we're starting to see a little bit more often, but it's a little different from your standard, like, here's a brand new game, give us a bunch of money kind of a situation. So, looks like it's doing pretty good. It's almost funded. It's got 6 days to go. Well, it's actually really close to funded. It only needs like another 15K, so let's hop into it. So first of all, right at the front, you see returning backers. No need to back this campaign. Check the FAQ. So, OrcQuest Warpath is a Kickstarter that ran back in, I don't even know, estimated delivery July 2019, so this must have been back in 2018 unless they were really aggressive with their delivery time frame, which obviously did not work out because this did not deliver. So you had 2,267 backers pledge 330,000 euros or whatever the fuck that symbol is. And the thing never got delivered. So what's happening here is Monolith of Conan, the board game, and Batman, etc. fame has stepped in to basically relaunch and complete the delivery of this game to the original backers, assuming that this campaign funds. So if we look at the FAQ, it says, I'm a returning backer from the first campaign. Do I need to pledge during this campaign? No. If you pledge during the first campaign or the late pledge, you don't have to do anything. We have your information and we will contact you when the new pledge manager opens to let you pay your shipping fees. So, basically what's happening here is Monolith is putting this game out, like the molds and the files and everything for printing the actual physical product were already complete, and they're basically just taking those files and printing them through their, publishing arm to get it not only to the market, but to the people who originally backed it. So this is really cool because that was a lot of people. What did I say? It was like 2,300 people who put at least $80 down, you have to imagine. And it looks like most of them backed it at the higher levels, 1,185 at the troll all-in level. And these people didn't get anything for their money. And assuming this funds, which it will, I haven't even backed it yet, and I will, they'll get their game. And all they'll have to pay is, the additional shipping. So I think this is pretty cool. It gets Monolith a title that they can put out there with their brand on it, because they don't exactly crank games out, right? Like, Monolith is one of the more, I would say, boutique publishers out there. They have a very small catalog of games, and they're all basically Kickstarter exclusives, or largely Kickstarter exclusive at least. And so this seems like a good deal for them because obviously they're getting some goodwill out of this from everybody who backed the original campaign, but they're also just keeping themselves relevant for what I imagine is a relatively small investment, because with this money, they are not only able to deliver the original backers copies, but obviously, hopefully, all of the new backers copies. So, what is this game? Basically, it's exactly what you think it is. It's a dungeon crawler where you play as the orcs against the humans, basically, instead of the other way around. 1 to 6 players, 90 minutes, 14 plus. You can see there's a crap ton of stuff here. They have kind of redone this campaign. If you look at the original, there were a number of pledge levels. You had the Goblin Pledge, the Early Orc Pledge, the Orc Pledge, and the Troll All-In Pledge. Basically, the All-In Pledge is all that is left. So the Resurrection Pledge comes with the core game with all the stretch goals and all the expansions from the first game, plus all the stretch goals from this campaign. So you're getting all 5 expansions, all 59 stretch goals, and all unlocked stretch goals, and it's $145 US, which for an all-in is actually a pretty great deal. So it's a cooperative board game for 1 to 6 players, takes you back to the good old days of dungeon crawling mixed with fresh features of gameplay. You can play a single quest or embark on a campaign to save the orc people from humans with crafting and progression systems. Each door opening is different and hides new enemies to crush and loot. So there, again, you've got a single all-in pledge level, which I think is really cool. It's getting ridiculous on Kickstarter with these add-ons and the size of some of these pledges. And I like to see something that's a little stripped down. So basically what they did was, in the previous campaign, these expansions were in like individual boxes, so that you could see they were like broken out. And in this one, they are just combining them all into one giant box, or mixing it into the core box, which I think they'd increase the size of. 172 miniatures. That's a lot of miniatures. 27 double-sided boards, 1,000 cards, basically, 44 dice, blah blah blah. All sorts of stuff. So, yeah. So this is really interesting to me. Like, the premise is interesting enough. This was interesting also because the publisher of this originally put out a card game, and it caught my attention at that time because that was back in like 2018, maybe 2017, like before the HeroQuest re-release, and so these kinds of games, while they were obviously still out there, weren't quite as omnipresent as they are right now. And so when I saw the card game, the first thing I thought was, oh, they should make a miniatures version of that. That'd be great. Which they ended up doing. And unfortunately, they just couldn't deliver it. So this one gets you all the wacky orc miniatures you could ever hope to have. Look at this. The guy's a hero, Varric. Oh, man. Therios, the Mina-Orc, I guess. You get monsters, bad guys, gnolls, and then humans. Filthy humans and their hounds. They've got their war dogs, guard soldiers. This is great. The porks, delicious fried on toast. Got rats. So, like, right off the bat, this game is like a gold mine for a relatively cheap, like, proxy pile of miniatures for something like Warhammer Quest, or even for HeroQuest potentially. You know, there's tons of stuff in here that you could use in other games. These are obviously basically Skaven. You've got elves. You've got barbarians, which is great. I love the look of this sculpt in particular because he looks kind of inhuman. He almost looks orcish to me, the way he's built, like his shoulders and his lack of a neck and stuff. That's great. You get the young bloods. Oh man, I love it. And then you get your dwarves, the gold diggers, warriors, royal guards, undead. I mean, there's so much stuff here. It's ridiculous. And the scale of them we are seeing here, 1.6 inch bases. These Measurements don't really help me. Usually that stuff is measured in millimeters, but whatever. They're normal size miniatures. They're not super small or something. Ton of boards, full and half tiles, double sided. You got trackers in this weird spawn area. I don't know what the hell this does, but I think the idea is you roll the spawn dice or something in there, and it tells you like where the monsters are supposed to be. So I'm assuming maybe depending on where the dice fall, like if the dice falls here and one falls there, I don't know. Maybe we'll see later in the campaign. You've got all your hero sheets, enemy sheets, boss sheets, and then tons and tons of game cards, including crafting, which is something that you don't see a ton in games like this. And so it is cool to come across it. Many, many, many tokens. Lots of books. 32 quests. We've got some turnaround videos. I don't know if we really need to necessarily dwell on this, especially since they're like weirdly small. There you go. They look like perfectly fine miniatures. You know, no sculpted bases. Probably not like the world's most detailed figures. These are not Games Workshop figures, but again, you are getting an insane number of them. What was it, 170? So there's a point at which, for stuff like this, especially where it's generic enough to be reused, like that's the problem with a lot of these campaigns, is they try to make their shit look so unique that even if they give you a ton of it, it just doesn't like have a ton of value outside of the original game. Like every one of these orc miniatures is an awesome potential like boss orc for something like Warhammer Quest. And so, and the same thing with all your kind of standard monsters and monster heroes and whatnot. So I feel like the value proposition here is even higher than it would be in something like, I don't know, even something like Black Plague or something like that, where, yeah, you're getting a ton of monsters, but they're all zombies and they're so wacky that they almost don't fit into that kind of generic archetypal, bucket where you could use them for stuff outside, like Rangers of Shadow Deep. I imagine you could use some of these for, or there's all sorts of, Dungeons and Dragons, obviously. There's all sorts of potential uses for a gigantic pile of fantasy miniatures with just enough of all the different kind of types, Like, you don't need 80 humans. You get a bunch of peasants, war dogs, guards, soldiers, knights, and officers. That's perfect. That's enough to create a party with, or enough to populate a town with, or a castle or something like that. It's just not 150 humans. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, well, I need 20 of those, and the rest are all garbage. So here they get into the gameplay. During the hero phase, players freely decide the order in which the heroes activate. A bit of strategy is always helpful, even for orcs. You get 2 action points to spend on your skill cards. Your orcs start the game with 3 skill cards, 1 movement, 1 attack, and a card specific to their class. So here they have the example of Mech, the Goblin Thief. His movement card allows him to move up to 7 squares by spending 1 action point, or 10 squares by spending 2. Keyword Agile allows him to move diagonally. Very useful to shank people. So they all have unique cards that make each character play slightly differently. Each time a room is explored for the first time, its contents are randomly generated. A number of dice indicated by the scenario are dropped in the spawn area. Then presence tokens are drawn from the reserve and placed on the dice locations. Finally, the tokens are flipped, revealing new enemies, objectives, and loots. I'm assuming that this is how that...
OrcQuest Warpath is a cooperative board game for 1 to 6 players. It takes you back to the good scenario or die.
Alright, so the video's not doing any good. But it is, you're dropping those dice and then you're putting these tokens out and then you're flipping them over to show you what is it. Is it a boss? Is it a piece of furniture? Blah, blah, blah. Combat uses attack and defense dice. Choose which weapon to use and add the matching dice to your attack pool. And then you just roll them all at the same time and cancel them out based on their color. Remember to play... Yeah, I guess the orc god in this is called Badass. Remember to pray to Badass before each roll. It works. So that's kind of fun. Looting and crafting. What would a dungeon crawler be without the heroes starting their quest with the basic gear and equipment? And when we say basic, we are being polite. So your original starting gear is like the fucking shin bone of a pig you were eating or whatever, and you got to level up and create new gear and stuff. And then it has a whole progression system. You get badass points. You get spend them to activate special attacks and perform additional actions, or you can save them up to acquire new skill cards. Very cool. Again, tons of stuff here. Here they go into wine, resurrected. I think we kind of covered that. I don't know that there's anything here. Oh, the other really interesting thing is that they're saying that they're going to deliver this in October, which is crazy talk. And the reason that they're able to do that is, again, because the game is done, basically. Like, it's ready to print. They don't have any development time behind this, so they're not going to be waiting 2 years, while they shore up the rulebook or whatever. I assume that they are taking, obviously cleaning it up, modernizing it maybe, because this game was, 3 or 4 years ago, so it may need a little bit of polish, but spitting it out, and the molds and everything are all ready to go. So, which is, one of the most time-consuming parts of creating a game like this. Oh, and here they go. State of the game. Gorbad, get your paint pot! Development is over and the miniature molds are final. We made changes to the original game to optimize the packaging, to group the expansions, reworking the layout, and adjusting some aspects of the game experience in compliance with our new policy. All production files are done. So you can see artwork's done, text done, translation's done, sculpt's done. Wow, even translation's done. Molds, factory files, and proofreading is all that's left. And here's the roadmap. Campaign ends on the 18th, so make sure you get in there if you're interested in this. Then they open up the Pledge Manager, produce the game over the summer, and ship it in the fall. And they've even got pictures of the actual boxes. So, the artwork is really cool. The miniatures look pretty cool, and the price is unbelievable for the amount of content. And you're getting the satisfaction of, kind of helping out, paying it forward a little bit, because those people who thought that they were screwed are actually going to get their product. So I think this looks really cool. There's a ton of reviews and stuff here from people who are not me. But, and then the shipping, $34 or $38 in the US. I don't know that that's true. It'll probably be considerably more than that, but whatever. Shipping is what it is. So, my 2 cents on this are, I think this looks pretty great. Like I said, I think it's got some value even outside of the actual game itself, just in the sheer number of miniatures and kind of fantasy archetypes that are captured in those miniature sets. And the game looks fun enough. I like the fact that they're paying it forward to the company, or to the people who backed the original campaign. And I like the fact that the all-in for this is a very reasonable $145. This all-in is like the base pledge for some of the more recent, CMON campaigns, for instance, like Marvel Zombies, I believe was $120 for the base pledge. 145 for the all-in with all this crap. I'm all about it. So make sure if you're interested, you take a look at this and get in there relatively quickly because it does close in 6 days. But that's all that I had for now. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later.